Ah, viewers, come, sit with me, sit with me. Leave us. Tell me, viewers, did you ever hear the tragedy of Star Wars Jedi Knight's expansion known as Mysteries of the Sith? I thought not. It's not a story the fan base would tell you. It's a Sith legend. The developers were so powerful, the only thing they were worried about was losing their power, which of course they did. Disney came along and strangled them in their sleep.
I love this job.
This has been the worst Star Wars game I've played so far. Of course, there's always a loyal fanbase willing to take the steps to mod the game to improve the gameplay, and that's the route to go to make Mysteries of the Sith actually playable. And if you want to get the game, you definitely should go in that direction. But I'm not reviewing Mysteries of the Sith, the mod. I'm reviewing the game I installed by default on Steam, and boy do I have stuff to say about this game. But before we do that, Star Wars Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith is a story-driven, toggleable first or third-person shooter developed by LucasArts and released in 1998. You play as Kyle Katarn for the first 4 levels, and then the rest of the game you play as Mara Jade. There are 14 levels in total, by the way, so you play most of the game as Mara Jade. Had I not made a note, I forgot we even had more than one level playing as Kyle, especially with how rough the game gets after the first level onward. It's part of the Jedi Knight series, but that requires a reminder of the order of these games because the names don't make any sense. First game was Dark Forces, then Dark Forces 2. Next, we had the expansion game we're reviewing now, Mysteries of the Sith. Then there was Jedi Outcast, and lastly, we have Jedi Academy.
This is one of the many training grounds.
That should sound far less confusing than it is because I left out the whole game titles. So again, let me regale you with the game and a brief description so you're caught up on the gist of the Jedi Knight game series. First, the Doom clone, Star Wars Dark Forces. Released in 1995. Loved the game. I'm more than happy to play Doom with a Star Wars reskin. It's awesome. I also have a fun video I made years ago on it. Definitely worth checking out if you liked this video. Second, the game where they had actors for the cutscenes, Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. Released in 1997. I really enjoyed the presentation and the world building they did in Dark Forces 2. It felt like the logical next step. And I was stoked that they had actors. It felt like a really dang good fan film. And yet again, if you're interested, I have an old but fun review I made for Dark Forces 2. Third, we have Star Wars Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith. Again, released in 1998. You're watching the review for this game right now. You can tell it was built off the bones of the previous Jedi Knight game, but sadly we don't have any actors for cutscenes. LucasArts discovered that instead of paying actors and spending time building a film set, they could easily get 3D models and voice actors instead. And sadly, I don't feel the same type of charm with this game that I did with the homemade movie vibe I got from Dark Forces 2. Fourth, we have Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. Note that we have forsaken the Dark Forces 1 and 2 titles, and now they've counted this as Jedi Knight 2? Why they freaking numbered the games this way, I don't know. It's stupid. Jedi Outcast was released in 2002. This was the game that started the lightsaber complex gameplay craze we saw in the last game. This was the game where we learned Kyle decided, I don't want to be a Jedi and have Force powers no more. That detail made more sense to me now that I've played Mysteries of the Sith. I've got a My Thoughts video on this game too, but I don't recommend watching it. The My Thoughts video format really only demonstrates my inability to speak cohesively while playing a video game simultaneously by myself. I actually do a better job live streaming on Twitch with an audience. Fifth and lastly, we have the most complex lightsaber combat video game LucasArts ever made, and the gem of the series titled Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, released in 2003, where for the single player you get to make your own customized character and customized lightsaber. And sadly, this is where the Jedi Knight series ends. This was the latest Jedi Knight review I've done and will be formatted very similarly to the review you're watching now. Definitely worth checking out if you enjoy this video. Now then, why weren't these games called Star Wars Dark Forces 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or Jedi Knight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or, I don't know, freaking Dark Forces 1, Dark Forces 2, Dark Forces 2, Mysteries of the Sith, Jedi Knight 1, Outcast, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Academy, instead of confusing everyone with Jedi Knight 2 and then forsaking the numbering system altogether on the last game, which has no numbers at all? Fantastic question! What a great question! I'd like an answer too! Realistically speaking, I guess they didn't plan to make 4 games and an expansion, and only worried about what game they were making next, and the title was an afterthought. But that's not funny. There's not much to say about the story in Mysteries of the Sith. It's a short cutscene before and after you finish a level. Calling this an expansion is fair because there's less here than any of the other Jedi Knight games. The game starts out with Kyle Katarn training his apprentice Mara Jade. The first few levels are played as our boy Kyle when suddenly a New Republic base gets attacked by the Empire. After the first few levels are finished, Kyle says it's time for them to part ways because he's discovered a Sith temple on Dromund Kaas. You play the rest of the game as Mara Jade assisting the New Republic. You'll deal with a Hutt, some pirates, until eventually Mara learns they've lost contact with Kyle on Dromund Kaas, and she goes there to find him. So there's more fun stuff to say about the story. Sure, I knew the reception of the game based off of the Steam reviews, but I mean, this game has Mara Jade in it. For those that don't know, Mara Jade is a very important, prominent character from the expanded universe, now known as Star Wars Legends. She first appeared in Timothy Zahn's 1991 book, Heir to the Empire. She acted as the Emperor's Hand, which is a special agent for Emperor Palpatine. But eventually, through character growth over many books, Mara Jade eventually becomes the spouse of Luke Skywalker. But we're glossing over so many details in Legends, I can't do it justice. I'm a big Timothy Zahn fan. I got to meet him at a Comic-Con a few years ago. Anyway, enough of my fangirling. So my thought was, oh look, we have a video game with Mara Jade. That's exciting. Never mind the negative reviews. I want to play a game with Mara Jade in it. Plus, if you've followed my channel for long, you know I'm a Kyle Katarn fan too. That's usually enough for me to like a game. To add some extra surprise details, I did not realize the significance of Dromund Kaas until the end of the game when I had a double take and I realized this was the same planet I had spent a long time on while playing Star Wars The Old Republic. You know, the Star Wars MMORPG. In The Old Republic, Dromund Kaas kind of acts as the Empire's version of Coruscant, just a big metropolitan area in a dense jungle. I also own an apartment there, but that's neither here nor there. My point was just to point out, hey, this planet is kind of a big deal. But even with the nods to Dromund Kaas, Kyle Katarn, and Mara Jade, it wasn't enough to redeem the gameplay for Mysteries of the Sith. The most fun I had was at the start of the game identifying starships. It was all downhill from there, I'm afraid. I've gone on the record to describe the basic gameplay experience for Mysteries of the Sith as run through the level until you hit a dead end, then backtrack all the way to the beginning, trying to find the one small hole, destroyable vent, or door. Then you do it all over again. Play until you hit a dead end, backtrack until you find the stupid secret tunnel, which lets you move on with the rest of the game. Combat is broken up with your choice of lightsaber, blaster, force power, and thermal detonators. You can toggle the camera between first and third person view. I played mostly in first person with lightsaber combat because occasionally Mara would deflect incoming damage, and I'll take every advantage I can get. However, there were sections where all enemies were dramatically out of my range, and then I turned to ye old blaster rifle to scratch those hard to get itches. You also have the typical Jedi Knight / Dark Forces UI with the red health and green shield icon in the bottom left of the screen, the ammo and available force power in the bottom right of the screen. My goal was to try to get through Star Wars Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith without looking up anything on guides, hints, or anything like that. I nearly made it too, but I got stuck on the last 2 levels. And when I say I got stuck bad. I was trying to parkour onto my ship and onto branches which were clearly out of my jump range, but I had no idea what else to do. I ran in circles, hitting the wall with my lightsaber in case there was a hidden door. Nothing. I was so worn down and tired of playing all the way to that point, I said, "Screw it," and looked it up. And the guide I found said about the final 2 levels of the game, quote, "Prepare to experience the 2 best-made levels in gaming history." It was clearly written in sarcasm. While the levels in Mysteries of the Sith are mostly linear, running forward, then backwards through the levels, looking for hidden doorways, switches, and vents isn't very enjoyable. You should be doing this crap to find secret areas and getting bonus objectives, not completing the main level. To make matters worse, large chunks of the game need to be played using Force Vision because the game is super dark. Not dark in a metaphoric way or in a narrative, morbid sense. Dark as in, "Can you please turn on the lights? I can't see where I'm going. Oops, there's a pitfall to your death." You can turn up your screen's brightness as high as it can go and still can't see anything. I spent way too much time using Force Vision to see what was happening. And by doing that, I wasted force power which could have been otherwise used for combat purposes. I would deserve this treatment from Mysteries of the Sith if I selected a normal or hard difficulty, but I selected easy, because I'm nobody's fool when it comes to the Jedi Knight games. I know they're tough, and I'm here for the story and the charm of playing an older Star Wars game. Mysteries of the Sith should have been right up my alley. Instead, I resorted to save scumming after the first level. I wish I was kidding, but I started making notes in my saves like, "How?" number 1, "How?" number 2, but in all caps, "Had to guide," "Luck," and "save scumming." There were sections of the game where I'd get stuck for lengthy periods of time, but I always could beat the enemies. Eventually, I was flabbergasted when I was forced to fight and kill a Rancor. And sure, that might be a minor spoiler, but for one, the Rancor is on the box cover art. And 2, I tried to search the Rancor's room for a switch or something for the door, and the Rancor would just kill you if it connects 2 hits on you. What was I supposed to do? I would just run in and die, and I would run in with Force Vision and hide in the corner and die, and I tried running in and Force Sleeping and died, and then I ran in and used Force Pull and everything, and I died. I had to go hand to hand with the stupid thing with nothing but a lightsaber. Not even Luke Skywalker did that crap in Return of the Jedi. You know who did do that? My entire 3-person party when I first played Knights of the Old Republic. But that was 3 characters, every possible mine I could set behind it, and everyone blasting it with their ranged weapons, and the Rancor still killed everyone but 1. Unbelievable. Anyway, just know, you gotta fight this jerk to have the next door open! To add insult to injury, when you die to the Rancor, you can't skip the very special cutscene they made for you to watch Mara get nom-nom-nommed by Ranky over there. Let me restate that. Every single time that I died to this darned thing, I couldn't load my save game. You can press escape, but you cannot load game until you are done being eaten. Why? Why would LucasArts do this to me? I had to watch Mara get eaten like 10 times before I finally got lucky with my hit and run strategy and actually killed the Rancor. Here's the thing, when I say I got lucky with my hit and run strategy, that's exactly why I had to save scum throughout the whole game, on easy difficulty. Because I only beat this game by trying again and again until I got lucky. I blocked a few extra blaster bolts and didn't die. My health and shields are pretty high. I better save my game right now. Here's a few gameplay mechanic tips and tricks to remember, and you can probably get through the game without help too. First, remember to check objectives for the mission at the start of each level. Knowing your mission objectives will let you know if you're trying to use any special items or trying to find a character, item, object. It will also let you know what direction you're trying to go towards to achieve that objective. To see objectives, you'll need to press Escape to bring up the menu, then choose objectives. Sometimes you've got a whole checklist, other times you complete an objective before you can see what your next objective is. Second, remember you can view your map on your screen with the tab key. Looking at the map was a 50-50 for helpfulness. Sometimes it helped me see exactly where a path branched off, other times it just takes up valuable screen real estate. And if you're easily turned around and lost, you might find the map overlay helpful in that way too. Third, don't forget you have an inventory. I forgot I had an inventory. While playing, you'll pick up several different items, from blaster energy packs to healing items and medkits. Now, I split those two up because you need to use medkits with your inventory buttons to heal. It doesn't happen automatically when you pick them up. You can access your inventory with the right and left square brackets and use the item with the enter key. I'm also telling you now, you will need to know how to do this for at least one part of the game. I figured it out when I got stuck, and I knew I had picked up the item I can use. But I had to look up the key bindings to see how to switch between inventory items and use them. Fourth, take note of what new force powers you've unlocked after a level. Once you're finished with the level, you'll earn force points which can be spent to power up your available force powers. However, you don't have all your force powers unlocked at the start, or else I would have put everything into force speed, force jump, and force lightning. I got hung up on one level because I didn't try out the new force move I had just unlocked, which was the solution for that particular puzzle. I don't want to say more because short of just saying which force powers are used to solve puzzles, I don't want to give too much away. Fifth, ease of life note here, I rebound a few keys to make my life easier. I personally didn't like the default interact and jump key bindings, and thank the Force, LucasArts included a key rebinding option in the game. So I bound spacebar to jump and E to interact. The way the good Lord intended. I just thought of a sixth as well. If you're not sure how to do something, check the key bindings. It's how I figured out how to access my inventory when I got stuck. I only played the single player of Mysteries of the Sith, short of experimenting with character customization and loading into a multiplayer level by myself. There aren't any bots you can add to the multiplayer either, so you're just wandering around by yourself. It's worth noting there is multiplayer, and you can set up your avatar in lightsaber color. If you wanted to, you could set up a LAN game. You could probably play online too, but the network provider options are serial connection, modem connection, or internet TCP/IP connection for direct play. First, I don't have any friends who want to play this game, which we couldn't just get from playing Star Wars Battlefront games. And second, IP connections are pretty hit or miss. I'm sure I'd need to troubleshoot and download something or do some port forwarding to play online. However, just note there is multiplayer, and there are still people online who join communities for the Jedi Knight games, and would likely play with you if you joined those communities. Let's also talk about modding games for a few minutes. At this point, anyone who grew up playing Star Wars Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith has probably left the video and commented something angry towards me. So if you see anything, you know they didn't watch the full video. If I don't include some notes here about modding the game as an option, I'll get comments from people saying, "Atratzu, you should have modified the game for a better gaming experience." Which is absolutely true. I got several comments that I should have installed a fix for when I played Star Wars Rebellion. But that's not how I do reviews. I tried to experience games in their most basic, or pure, or true, or unmodified form first. Then, if I decide to keep playing, or I come back to play them, I'll install mods to make them more appealing, run smoother, look shiny, add quests, missions, objectives, levels, or skins to the game. But it doesn't make sense to me to review a game when it's been modified, or else you'll need to install the mods to have the experience I did. And that's just jumping through more hoops. Hoops that may very well be worth your time and effort, I might add. But again, there's always dedicated fans to these older games, and incredibly smarter people than me making software, programs, or just combing over the game files looking for ways to fix or improve the game. You should definitely do your own research on what fix you decide to go with, but one mod I've heard a lot about is OpenJKDF2 to bring some much needed fixes to the game. Did I use it? No. Would you prefer to play the game in a modified state? Definitely. But whether you decide to do so is completely up to your own discretion. Apparently, when it first came out, the reception for Mysteries of the Sith was generally positive, with many people saying there was room for improvement. Even now, when looking at Steam reviews, you can see a pretty standard divide between people who like Mysteries of the Sith and those that don't. Part of the blame might fall on the port available on Steam for the poor condition I found Mysteries of the Sith, but this was my least favorite game in the Jedi Knight series. As always, you can do the work to fix up the game to make it more functional, attractive looking, and more playable. With my review, I'm coming from the perspective of an unmodded basic installation of Mysteries of the Sith. If you're already a fan of the game, go ahead and grab it on sale and fix it up with mods. For anyone else interested in playing Mysteries of the Sith, brace yourself for what you're about to get into. I could recommend any of the other Jedi Knight games pretty easily, but not this one. I fought my way through the game, looking forward to being done with every step of the way. So, dear viewer, you've heard the tragedy of the Star Wars Jedi Knight expansion known as Mysteries of the Sith. I hope you found the experience valuable. But I wonder, have you heard the whole tale of the Jedi Knight video game series? Well, sit your butt back down in that chair, like the video, subscribe to Atratzu's YouTube channel, and watch the rest of the Jedi Knight playlist. Do it. But before you start on your next video, comment on this video and tell me if you've ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Or recommend another Star Wars game for me to play. I'll wait. I've got nothing to do but sit here and wait for you to type out your YouTube comments. I'm waiting. Do it. Do it.